Welcome back. What you are about to hear could shape the next few months of American politics because President Trump has given a wide-ranging interview to NBC that will air during Super Bowl weekend, and several of his comments are already causing serious debate across the country. In this interview, the president openly admits that his administration may need to take a softer approach on immigration, especially after the deadly incidents in Minnesota that shocked the nation and sparked widespread criticism. President Trump acknowledged that following the deaths in Minnesota, his administration decided to adjust its tactics. The official now overseeing ICE operations in the city, Homan, confirmed that the number of ICE agents actively roaming the streets is being reduced. Instead, the focus is shifting toward processing undocumented migrants who have already been arrested. This marks a noticeable change in tone compared to the aggressive enforcement strategy seen earlier. When the president was questioned directly about the deaths of Renee and Alex Pretti and how his administration responded, he was asked whether the decision to withdraw 700 officers from Minneapolis came from him personally. He confirmed that it did. He explained that after reviewing the situation, he felt a slightly gentler approach was necessary, while still insisting that law enforcement must remain firm. According to him, the people being targeted are serious criminals, and he emphasized that his administration is dealing with very dangerous individuals. At the same time, he said he personally reached out to state and local leaders, including the governor and the mayor, and claimed those conversations were positive. However, he expressed frustration at seeing public criticism afterward, as if those calls had never happened. Even after the pullback, he noted that around 2,000 federal agents remain active in Minneapolis. The discussion then moved live to Boston, where political and communication strategist Shannon Felton Spence from the Harvard-affiliated Belfer Center joined the program. She was asked about another part of the interview where the president said he would like to see similar immigration operations carried out in 5 other cities. This immediately raised concerns among Democratic governors and mayors. When asked if the president offered any clues about which cities he had in mind or how these operations would be carried out, she said he did not provide specifics. She explained that in the NBC interview, the president mentioned 5 cities, but also spoke more broadly about many locations. Importantly, he said he wants to be invited in by local leaders. According to him, he wants a call from a governor or mayor asking for federal help. Spence pointed out that this could be difficult since many major cities are run by Democratic mayors and governors who may not be eager to make such a request. She said it remains to be seen whether the president will stick to this condition. She added that the president framed the situation in Minneapolis as a failure of coordination, claiming he was not invited and did not have a strong working relationship with state and city leaders. He contrasted this with Louisiana, saying the governor there had reached out for help. However, she noted that Louisiana is a deeply Republican state, which makes it a less convincing comparison. There did appear to be a noticeable shift in the president's attitude during the interview. He spoke repeatedly about using a softer touch, suggesting some recognition that the Minneapolis operation did not go as planned. Spence said she believes Minnesota was a turning point for this administration. The images that emerged from the state were deeply disturbing to many Americans. The sight of 700 federal officers withdrawing from a major U.S. city was striking on its own. But what truly shook the public were the contradictions between the administration's message and what people actually saw. While the president talked about targeting violent criminals, 2 American citizens lost their lives on the streets of Minneapolis. There was also the widely shared image of a 4-year-old boy wearing a Pikachu winter hat and carrying a small backpack being placed into a vehicle, an image that did not match the official narrative. These moments created a disconnect for the American public. Many people felt that what they were being told did not align with what they were seeing. Spence said this gap has damaged trust and forced the administration to reconsider its approach. At the same time, she noted that the president has recently returned to talking about the 2020 election and repeating claims that it was stolen, despite a lack of evidence to support those allegations. He has sent investigators to Fulton County, Georgia, and floated the idea of nationalizing elections, comments that quickly drew backlash. Later in the interview, the president appeared to walk back those remarks. When asked directly about nationalizing elections, he said he never used that exact term. Instead, he argued that certain areas of the country have deeply corrupt election systems. He pointed to cities like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta, claiming they have serious problems. He insisted that the country cannot tolerate corrupt elections and suggested there are many other places with similar issues. The interview then turned to questions about his future political plans and whether he would consider running again in 2028. According to Spence, this line of rhetoric is part of a broader strategy. She argued that by repeatedly casting doubt on elections, the president is laying the groundwork to challenge the results of the upcoming midterm elections. With the midterms only months away, campaign season is about to intensify. She said the president appears to be under pressure, pointing to recent special election results, including a state Senate race in Texas that many expected Republicans to win, but instead went to a Democrat. Spence said these results suggest that the upcoming midterms could be extremely difficult for Republicans and for the president himself. If that happens, the second half of his administration could become far more challenging. She explained that a hostile Congress would limit his ability to pass legislation or govern in the way he has so far. In her view, much of the current talk about voter fraud is a form of preparation, so that if results in November do not go his way, he can dispute them as he did after the 2020 election. She noted that the cities he often mentions are places where he lost by narrow margins in 2020. She stressed that repeated investigations have shown voter fraud in the United States is extremely rare and not significant enough to change election outcomes. She also addressed the president's claims about undocumented immigrants voting in elections. She questioned what incentive such individuals would even have to vote, especially given the risks involved. According to her, the argument simply does not make logical sense. She added that the president's increasingly erratic language suggests he knows he is facing political trouble and is preparing for a fierce battle throughout the midterm season. Another major issue expected to dominate the midterms is affordability and the rising cost of living. On this topic, the interview shifted to the economy and the Federal Reserve. The president recently announced his pick for the next chair of the Fed, Kevin Walsh. When asked whether there was any doubt that interest rates would be lowered, the president said he believed they would be. He argued that interest rates are currently far too high and claimed that under his leadership, the country has become wealthy again. He said that while there is national debt, there is also strong growth, and that growth will soon make the debt appear much smaller. When pressed on whether his new Fed nominee understands that he wants lower interest rates, the president suggested that Walsh already agrees with him. He even said that if someone had come to him wanting to raise rates, that person would not have been given the job. These comments immediately raised concerns about the independence of the Federal Reserve, an institution designed to operate free from political pressure. This issue has alarmed Wall Street and financial leaders. Spence strongly pushed back on the president's claims about his financial expertise. She said that historical evidence shows he has not been particularly skilled with money, pointing to past business failures. She also noted that Jerome Powell's term as Fed chair ends on May 15th and that Powell still has 2 meetings left where rates could potentially be lowered, though nothing is guaranteed. She explained that no serious candidate for the Fed chair would openly tell a president they want to keep rates high, especially in an interview setting. Naturally, candidates would say they support lowering rates. She emphasized that even after a new chair is appointed, decisions are not made by one person alone. The Federal Reserve operates through a board of governors, and the chair must be confirmed by the Senate. While confirmation is unlikely to be a major obstacle, she stressed that the independence of the Fed is critical for long-term economic stability. Monetary policy should not be driven by the personal desires or political needs of a president or Congress. This independence helps protect the economy from short-term thinking and political interference. The conversation then shifted to foreign policy.
After a brief pause following the Davos meetings, attention is now turning to the upcoming Munich Security Conference. Leaders from Europe and around the world will gather there, and expectations are high that tensions will surface. The president and vice president have both been very clear about their critical views on Europe, NATO, and the war in Ukraine. Spence warned that this could make for a turbulent conference, with sharp headlines emerging by the end of the week. She concluded by saying that the next several months will be critical, not just for domestic politics, but for America's role on the global stage. With elections approaching, economic uncertainty lingering, and strained international relations, every statement and decision from the White House will be closely watched. She said it will be a rocky period, filled with political fights at home and diplomatic challenges abroad. The segment ended with a brief thank you to Shannon Felton Spence for joining the program and sharing her insights, wrapping up a conversation that highlighted just how volatile and unpredictable the months ahead may be for the United States.